Muslim country, and India will be split if we go ahead with this idea. And I think the British were like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's support this guy. Let's push his agenda even more, that eventually, once we leave, India will be divided into Muslims and Hindus. And then, since they divided into two countries, they will never have the capacity to challenge us, and they'll probably fight with each other. And that's basically what happened in the end. That that's my theory, that they actually
No,
saw.
but Neo, like, your theory is self-contradictory in a way that, the argument from where you begin itself proves itself wrong, right? So when you say that the Britishers wanted to, like, remain a superpower, but they were a declining power at the time when they were leaving, America was already a superpower, and Britishers or the United Kingdom was a declining power. And even Nehru in his letters even wrote that, the upcoming few superpowers will be those of United States, China, and Soviet Union and India. He clearly mentioned that. He did not even mention any of the European countries, which were the ruling powers in the early 20th century and the 19th century. So he himself never believed that, the people who divided or partitioned India, even Nehru had, like, already said that, they will not remain superpowers any longer, which they even did not. So when you say that, they were,
No,
like,
I'm
they
saying
somehow
from the,
wanted to remain
yeah,
superpower, they
no,
were
from the
already a
perspective
declining
of the
power.
British. I'm saying from the perspective of the British, wherever they left after colonization, the countries in India, in Africa, and all that stuff, they split the countries before they left. And my
Why,
idea is
like,
they would do
how
the
would
same
that
thing,
help
because
them?
it's a scorched earth policy. Like, okay, if we're gonna leave this place, we're not gonna leave it in such a condition that they can ever become powerful. We should do something so
But
that
why
once
would
we
they
leave.
Can
care? Like,
I can
when
I ask
you
you
care
a
when you're a
question?
superpower.
Sorry, Aditya. You may continue the conversation, but I just have one thing. It's very well having theories and stuff, but what exactly is your theory based upon? Do you have any references, or is it just
Based on
something?
history, how British
Yeah,
treated other colonized.
can you provide a
I
few
don't
references
I
in
don't
those
have the names
regards?
of the places right now with me, but based on how British was colonizing all like different places in Africa and other Far Eastern places and all that, whenever they left, right, they would leave that place and give them independence, but they would split the country before they would give in. I read that as an
And
article
how do
somewhere.
you think that would have helped the Britishers
It
when they
would
were
help
leaving
the
and
Britishers,
dividing the
like, let's say,
countries?
for example, if imagine if Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh was one nation, right? Imagine partition never happened, they were still one nation. Imagine how much more progress and development this whole nation as a whole could have done. All the
We
resources
would
that
never
Pakistan.
know. We
No,
would
no,
never
that's not,
know.
I'm
Like,
How,
just
how,
giving you a
how
thought
can you say
experiment.
they would
we
have
could
As a
have,
thought
like,
tomorrow?
experiment.
just killed each other.
Neo,
We could have killed each other
Neo,
also.
you can say the same thing about anything.
Yeah,
Say
but
if it
the thing
wasn't.
that he
Oh,
said
hold
was
on.
they
Listen
would
to
kill.
me.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I can say the same thing. If Silicon Valley would have been in Pakistan or India, they would have developed IT. Uh, इस तरह तो कुछ भी कह सकते हैं कि ये ना हुआ होता
इसी को
तो
तो
वो
थॉट
हुआ
एक्सपेरिमेंट
होता
कहते हैं।
और ऐसे
नहीं
हुआ
नहीं, इसी को
होता
तो थॉट एक्सपेरिमेंट कहते हैं। दिस इज
नहीं नहीं
व्हाट द
नहीं
थॉट
इसको
एक्सपेरिमेंट इज।
फिगमेंट ऑफ इमेजिनेशन कहते हैं सो वी आर नॉट हियर टू
Maybe
डिस्कस कि
partition
क्या
was a good thing.
हुआ
Like,
होता
maybe if partition wouldn't have happened, we all
हाँ
would have been, there would have been a
आप
civil war in India. How
Why
can
एग्जैक्टली
do you
you
think
say
that?
that there wouldn't have been a
Why do
civil war in India?
India, Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs were living in India for hundreds of years together. So why would you think
No,
that when the
never.
British would
and
leave,
They were
we
never
were
all
living
of a sudden
together.
there would be civil war?
No, no, no.
एक
We
second ना Aditya so Desi Neo were they living peacefully and if they were living peacefully then why do we have Sikhs Hindus and Muslims always talking about conflict of the past the in recent times if you look at the Hindus वो उसको शिवाजी महाराज छत्रपति who fought against the Muslims उसको रेफर करते हैं उसको हीरो की तरह पोर्ट्रे करते हैं मुसलमानों को देखें तो वो अब्दाली और मुगलों को करते हैं अगर सिखों को देखें तो वो भी इसी तरह उनके रेफरेंस हैं। वो तो यहाँ तक कहते हैं कि उन्होंने हिंदू औरतों को बचाया मुसलमानों से। ठीक है, तो व्हेन वी लुक एट ऑल दीज थिंग्स, तो मुझे तो कोई प्यार मोहब्बत नजर नहीं आता। आप कौन से प्यार मोहब्बत की बात कर रहे हैं? It was
We were
always
living here for 800
all of
years.
these communities trying to rule each other.
We
Okay.
were not living peacefully in here in the past 800 years, Neo. Uh, we were living together. There is no doubt about it, and we have a lot of wars. We killed each
Yeah, the
We're
other.
still
kings
We
were
living
fought
fighting
each
all
together
the
other.
if you think
time.
about it.
The kings were fighting each other all the time.
Yeah.
India, like total, most of the India united together was the only time in the last 1200, 1500 years was under Aurangzeb, and that too for a very short period. And since he captured a lot of land in South Asia, Aurangzeb for a very short period. Look what happened after that. The entire the Britishers and these Europeans came. Marathas started taking chunk of parts of India. In the north, the Sikhs started fighting. The Rajputs were fighting. There was a lot of infighting as well. How can you say that everything was so peaceful when everyone was living peacefully together? Just after Aurangzeb's death, there was civil wars in South India, North India, East India, West India, everywhere. That's a
मैं
very
एक और
but
चीज
but
आदित्य
I
ऐड
think I
करना।
think that was happening around the world, right? All the
या
yeah, but
monarchies
we
were doing
can't
that.
we can't say that
But I
everyone was
think his
living
point
peacefully.
is
They were not.
no. Peace time se pehle to I don't think anyone around the world was living peacefully. I think we cannot forget the Nazi period, right? What was happening in the Germany and what was happening with the blacks in the Britain itself. So I think peacetime se pehle whole world was in chaos. We cannot like
So
say
we
कि कोई
can
एक
never
ऐसा मुल्क
know
था.
what
No, but
say,
but
that's what
the
I'm
point
saying.
here
We
is no
cannot
Aditya,
say
but
that we all
नहीं, the
could have been
point here
living
is
peacefully.
नहीं, the point here is कि peace time से पहले there was chaos around the world, but people were coexisting, right? Same was the case with the subcontinent.
But don't you think that's